Don't laugh, you'll be old
It's on
one
the
day.
bottom.
I am old.
Okay, thank you. Well, welcome to the October 2019 meeting of the Houston County Historical Society. If you would, please silence your phones. We will call the meeting to order in just a moment. Got one more person coming in.
Started already. Minutes, Dan.
Okay, we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Gene Walker, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes. Did everyone receive their minutes? Any problems, any corrections, additions, deletions? Is there a motion to accept the minutes as written?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good deal. And the minutes, be sure and check the back of those minutes because a lot of the programs has been added to the YouTube videos. If you just would. Did anybody look at that part of the minutes? Okay. Everyone from Miss Nina Finley to Joey Brake. There's one from 1992 and 2019, so that spans quite a period of time, and they're adding those regularly. Treasurer's report, Miss Betty.
On our meeting at September the 10th, we had a balance in our checking account of $2,982.43. Our income for this month has been $259.72. That was for books, pictures, and we did have a $110 donation. And we got one more brick, by the way. And our expenses were $62.50. That was for some pictures that were bought from TBA that Jerry got, leaving a balance in the checking account of $3,179.65. And our certificate of deposit, we have $11,105.33.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Approved. Who's Dan?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll let Melissa, the archivist, give her an update, but first, I don't know if many of you knew, but Paige Price donated or gave Mr. William Beverly Price's scrapbook to the Historical Society. And we have it back here if you would like to look at it. We're going to let Melissa keep it for us for the Historical Society, and it will be in good hands. And if you want to update us on the archives.
Watch my tray out, Melissa.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I think everybody does, but I'm Melissa Barker. I'm the Houston County Archivist, and I like to give updates on the archives because there's a lot going on. Since we got our new room across the hall, we have had a lot more visitors. I think the word's got out that they can come now to a very nice room and see our displays and exhibits. And so if you haven't come, next month, we're going to be able to put all of the chairs in a room. What a concept. Instead of in the dark hallway. So we're excited about that. We had a couple of really interesting donations the last couple of weeks. Some of you may know Wayne McMillan, interesting gentleman. He came by the archives and brought me a couple of items. I've posted these to Facebook, but I brought them to, I wanted people to touch them and hold them because I believe in sharing our history. He gave me a coin, which I already have one that's a 5-cent coin, but this is the E.W. Roster Store coin, which many of you have seen those. This one is very interesting that I'm still doing research on. It says Carl McMillan on it. It says Erin, Tennessee, 1936. On the back, it says CCC Company 1474. This is the Civilian Conservation Corps that he was a part of. I believe that this was a medallion that he wore as a bracelet. I've actually sent pictures of this to a CCC expert. They said they've never seen anything like this before. This company 1474 was actually formed in Montgomery County. It's possible that some of our Houston County people was part of this company, like Carl McMillan. So I'm going to send that around. I have to tell you a really quick story. Any of you that know Wayne McMillan will understand this. He came in to show me these, and I said, are you just showing me these, or are you going to donate them? And he said, I'm just showing them to you. I said, okay. I said, can I make a copy of them? So I threw them on the copier and made a copy of them. I said, Wayne, I said, when you die, you've got to put it in your will that all your stuff's got to come to the archives. And he just shook his head. He says, I'm not going to die. And then I said, okay. I said, well, thank you so much, Wayne, for coming by and showing me those wonderful treasures. He walked out the door and he came back and he pitched these on the table and he said, here. He said, you can have them. But then he came back the next day and he brought this wonderful photograph. This is the T.R. Latham photographers. Now, I have T.R. Latham photographs that have Erin, Tennessee on them because he was a photographer here. This says Cumberland City. This baby girl is actually identified. We believe it's correct. It's Idell Stone. So if anyone is related to this little baby, that's great. Let me know about it. But just wanted to say that I also attended the Danville reunion this past weekend. It was my first time to attend, and I was not disappointed at all. I sat with Mr. Frank Cherry and Bingo Powell. Miss Betty sat beside me, and I sat there and listened to history for an entire day. We have some true treasures in this county, Miss Betty and Bob, Kay French. I'm not going to name everybody because I'll miss someone. Jerry did a wonderful job Saturday, an absolutely wonderful job Saturday. And so I'm just so grateful that I'm learning from these people because I do not know the entire history of Houston County. I learn every single day. And so I just want to thank you very much. I'm going to pass these around for you, everyone to see and hold. I'll hurt myself.
Okay, in the new business, there was some discussion a couple of meetings ago about the lime kiln preservation. There was a meeting here in this room several weeks ago, and if Kay can update us on what transpired.
The lady that came that's in charge of our area of the National Archive, the registry. And this would be, she told us all the rules and regulations on how to get something on the National Register and how to get loans through there and so forth and so on. And Mr. Perigo was there from the Masonic Lodge. And since the lime kilns are on the Masonic Lodge property, they now are going to seek a loan to help preserve the lime kilns. And so it's sort of out of anybody else's hands because it's on the Masonic Lodge property. So, and the lady did say that they do not give loans or grants to anybody. I said loans, but grants, to move it, because that had been his question, could they be moved? So, but they are, I think they are seeking to get the other two that are not on the National Register to get them on the National Register.
Thank you. Oh, yes, and as Melissa mentioned, the Danville reunion was very successful. There were a lot of people there. I don't think it was a record number of people, but there were probably 55 people there. And thank you all for attending and representing the Historical Society. Another new business, Vanetta handed me this note, please let everyone know that the mobile career coach bus will be in Erin Square on Tuesday, October the 29th from 9 a.m. until noon. The mobile career coach will offer assistance with jobs for Tennessee, registration, and job search. Please spread the word. That's October the 29th from 9 a.m. till 12 noon. For old business, we're still working on the 2021 celebration. Some celebrations will coincide with some of the other groups here in the county. Angie Nielsen and Melissa Barker are working on the county's participation in this event. And Teresa Mitchell. It sounds like a long ways away, but 14 months, and we'll be here. Our speaker tonight is Jerry Bybee, presenting a collection of the Danville pictures and stories from various sources. This includes those the society purchased. We approved the money last month. Jerry?
August.
Okay, 2 months ago, Jerry's already got these pictures and we've made some reprints. He will describe the pictures for you. A variation of this group of pictures was presented to the attendees at the Danville reunion. And Jerry will update you.
Can I throw something in before we go on with this? In
Sure.
other business? Is the election of the officers or the nomination of the officers for November, isn't it Miss Betty and Vanetta, or not? Vanetta? The nomination for the officers, shouldn't it be in November? Yeah. And then we elect them in December and then we swear them in January.
Okay.
So we need to try to get a committee together to, if everybody wants to stay the same, I don't know, but I mean, it's something we need to consider before November.
Okay.
Sorry.
We will work on that for our November, and we'll get a nominating committee for those that wish to change positions or eliminate their
I
positions.
think we should leave it alone.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I was just trying to remind you. All right. First of all, let me see if I can get this program up, because I had trouble with it in Danville, and I had to call Computer One. Not yet. Okay, all these pictures are not what we bought off the National Archives. Let me read this first, Donald, and then we'll turn it off, okay? This program started with a trip down to Hill Orchard Cemetery over the summer. I found some graves down there. A friend of mine's the caretaker of it, Randy White, and they're outside the cemetery. So I thought, what's going on here? Because these are uncared graves, and there was 2 stones, and the rest of them were funeral home markers, the little metal markers, and you couldn't read them. So I contacted TVA. I found out that it's in our cemetery book that these graves were moved during the flooding of the lake, which was in the 40s. So I contacted the historian from TVA, and he told me that all the records had been turned over to the National Archives. So I said, okay. So I contacted the National Archives in Atlanta, Georgia, and I talked to a Maureen Hill, and she told me that TVA had turned over all records for that, and also that she had the documents that showed a permit to move the grave, and then there was a form that was filled out of what the grave was, or who was in it, or what was in the grave. And she also told me that these were public, that they were on the website because they had been scanned and they wasn't JPEGs. So I got on there and I looked, and none of the graves were identified except for the 2 concrete graves that were there, or the stone markers. One of them belonged to a gentleman named David Green, he was a slave before the Civil War, and then before the Civil War he bought his freedom. And where this grave site is, he bought 160 acres. The other grave was his wife, which was 10 feet down from his grave. And he bought her, but he never did free her. So he kept her as a slave until after the Civil War. I guess she was given her freedom. I don't know if there was kids in between there or not, but there was no other stones. But behind there was markers, they're like cemetery markers, and they were rusty and you couldn't read them. So I found out there was no names on these cemeteries that were moved. They were moved from Reynoldsburg, Tennessee, which is in Humphreys County, to the White Oak Hill Orchard Cemetery. I can follow my notes, but that's okay. So I got to talking to the lady that was at the National Archives, and she told me that we have pictures, or we have negatives. And I said, really? I said, I'm trying to research this area in the Danville area. And she said, we have 164 pictures of the Danville area. I said, really? I said, can I see them? And she said, they're negatives. She said that the gentleman with TVA took over 5 million pictures and turned them all over to the National Archive, but all the pictures were all the reservoirs that they had flooded throughout the country, or what work they'd done through the country. So she did say that they had 164 pictures of the Danville area, and then she said that there's more of Houston County. So I got up to looking on her database, and I found probably a total of over 200 pictures. And some of them were Erin, some of them were McKinnon, some of them were Sturt, and then there was Sturt County and Humphreys County. I notified Sturt County's historian, our Historic Society, and told them about it, and she was going to check into it. And as I said before, for them to scan these pictures for us, and they send me a JPEG of the negative, they charge us $2.50 a piece. If we go down there, we can do it with their equipment for 25 cents a piece. If we bring our own equipment, they're free. But they're in boxes. And if you go down there, you've got to make an appointment to get them to get the boxes out, because they got to be removed from the cooler 24 hours before they can do it. So I got the list, and that's where we've ordered 45 pictures. Total is what we've ordered. The last bundle I ordered, we had a budget set up of $100. I went over it. I went to $125, but I ordered 5 other pictures from Erin and Danville, or from McKinnon. So, like Miss Betty said, we've had donations since then. Also, I'm selling pictures that I've loaded up to 8x10s for $10 a piece. And then we got the 4x6s in these books that we're selling extra copies of them for 50 cents. Now, all the money's going to buy more pictures, because that's our goal. I'd like to get every one of the pictures they have of this area. So that was the project, and that's how it started. Donald, if you would. Okay, I named this Danville, the Lost Town, and I put it on for the Houston County Historic Society. First railroad bridge was started in 1861 with the help of slaves from Alabama, and this is the bridge. In 1861, federal troops disabled both ends of the bridge and removed 100-foot of trestle on each end, so nobody could use it during the Civil War. My wife drew this picture. It's a drawing, but I got the idea of what it was supposed to be looking like, so I'm kind of glad she did this for me. The first bridge in Danville was a turnstile bridge. Instead of raising up and down like the bridge that we're familiar with, it turned. If you'll notice in the middle there, on the left side of it, you can see more so with that picture right there, there's a boiler. They would fire up that boiler and they'd use steam to turn the bridge, is what they would use it. This is the Danville L&N Railroad Bridge. The second bridge was the drawbridge, and it was started July 3rd, 1931. The flood of 1932, when they were working on the bridge, you'll notice the office and the tool house is in the water. And thanks to the Houston County Archives and the internet, we found these pictures, and they've been donated to Melissa, so they're on view at the archive. I'd like to thank her for sharing the pictures with us. This is another picture of the bridge. I think there was a total of, 14 pictures, Melissa?
I think it
What?
was 16, 20 something.
Okay. And this is the flooding part of when they were building the bridge too. This is Danville in 1932, February. And I'd like to thank the Houston County Archives. This was a temporary gill fender that was put up so all the riffraff wouldn't come up against the bridge that they were building. This is not the other one that we saw where the wooden trestle is. This is the first one. And it was just a temporary wall to put up so the riffraff couldn't come up against the bridge that they were building. This is the turnstile on that bridge, or the lift of the bridge, is what this is. This is the one that lifted the bridge up and down, and this is the motor that did it. And they're replacing it here. And this is the bridge completed, and if you notice in the background, over on the land there, that's Danville in 1932. I wish I could get a real good picture of that so I could just visually see. I've seen the maps, but visually see what the town looked like and how it was set up. This is the bridge after it was completed. And this is the bridge. This is also looking at the bridge. This is the grain elevator, and this is the coal chute. This is the coal chute after they replaced it, because you can see where they removed the old piers and then built a new one. Now, I don't believe 1856 is the right date on that, because I don't believe it was there anymore, because the railroad wasn't. Okay, this is a steam engine going across the L&M bridge at Danville. Okay, this is the removal of Indian graves under the Danville Bridge that TVA was doing in 1942 before they flooded.
Hey, Jerry,
Yes.
tell us about where those Indian remains are. You tell us at Danville.
I believe that they're on the opposite side over in...
No, where are they now?
Oh, the remains, I know normally that Tennessee Balls, or Tennessee of Knoxville will do that kind of work. And once they do that kind of work, they have a vault in Knoxville where they store all these. And I believe that's where these are. I know when they redid 149 and did all the excavation of the Indian graves, some of them got moved to Knoxville, to the University of Tennessee. I think they're under the football field. I've heard it. I've heard that they got rooms under the football field. And if you ever seen the movie, I can't familiar with it, but the woman told the football player not to go to Tennessee because they got dead bodies under there. So, and so this is the drawbridge after it was completed. This is the drawbridge after it was raised. If you'll notice the difference in the piers, you can see how those piers look. And this was raised 18 foot so they could flood the lake. This is the building of the temporary bridge when they were getting ready to raise that bridge. They were building a tussle bridge across the river. I'm not sure if it's upstream or downstream. That's a little iffy there, but I'm believing it's, didn't you say, Clint, it was upstream or?
Yes.
All right. This is also them building the bridge. And this is them laying across, but I think it's on the northern side of the lake, because I think if you look, you can see the steel bridge to the right, and that looks like the landing of Danville over there on the far side of it. But I'm not sure, so I won't press that point. That's the building of the bridge. That's the completion of the bridge. Okay, during the flood of 1937 or 1939, I got that wrong. The water got up so high that all the riffraff got against this temporary bridge. Okay, the 102nd train came from, Ms. Betty will correct me on this, from
102.
102 came from Louisville. Am I telling that right?
Okay, Guthrie, went from Guthrie to Memphis.
Okay, it made it across the bridge, even though it was flooded. But the engineer said the bridge was doing this. So the 103 was coming from Memphis going to Guthrie. Before he got to the edge of the bridge, he stopped the engine, got out and looked, and the bridge was separated about 5 foot. So if he would have went into it, he would have went into the river. The 102 had 200 troops on it, and they barely made it across the river. This is what was left of the bridge after the flood destroyed it. They had to shut the other bridge down for, I think, 3 weeks, and then finally they got traffic back across it. So they were almost completed when this happened. And this is, like I said again, this is the washout. And there's a picture. These are from the National Archives, these pictures here. I guess the gentleman saw the boat, the train, and then he got in the boat and then he took a picture back to it. So And this is the,
Jerry, I might need to correct that. The train, the 102, the Pan American was the passenger train. I know to go to Nashville, if you got on here, you had to change trains in Guthrie, but the train may have gone on to Louisville.
okay.
I don't know. I just know you had to change trains in Guthrie.
I think everybody gets the idea, but that's what happened between the two trains, and I'm not holding nobody on what number the train was, but that's what happened between the two trains at that time. And this is the bridge before the lake was flooded after it was raised. So this is from this was from the Danville side, so you see how much land was flooded afterward, which is all water now. That's a picture of the old, that's a picture of the one. Okay, during the time Danville was founded, Captain Jack Henson spent a lot of time in the Danville area after his sons were killed at Fort Donelson by a sergeant and a lieutenant. And after they executed him, they beheaded him and took him to his house and put him on the fence post. Before this happened, he was neutral, and I guess everybody's heard the Jack Henson story. But before this happened, he was neutral. Afterwards, he seeked revenge. This is one of the places that he hung out. It's called the Signature Rock or the Signage Rock, which is up on the ridge right on the other side of Hurricane. It's got his name carved on it, which is C.S. Henson, 1863. And this is where he hid out from the Union soldiers. This is the gun that he used. He had it built in Kentucky. Everything was built except for the mechanism to fire it. But the gun had, I've held the gun when Tom McKinney was doing the book, it had 100 notches on it. So that said that he killed 100 soldiers. Okay, this is the Caney House in the Danville post office. It was burnt and rebuilt. The new post office at Danville in 1881 was robbed of $200 worth of stamps. And people say it could have been the James brothers because they were in Waverly at that time. The post office later in Danville was moved to the east shore of Danville, but otherwise it was on the west side over towards the Benton County line. And then they moved it after they built this one here. But it's still considered part of Danville. Okay, during that time of Danville being, before it was flooded back in the early 1900s, they had showboats that came. And when the showboats would come up the river, they would turn on their, I can't think of exactly what you call them, but their music.
A calliope.
Calliope?
They were called the calliope. It was steam, like a steam organ,
Yeah.
but you could hear it for miles, and they were called calliopes.
And they could hear them for, some people said they could hear them for 10 miles. And once they turned that bend and people started hearing them, all work would stop in the fields and then at schools and everything, and everybody would go to the dock because they would play the Old Brown Jug. And once people heard that song, they knew that one of the showboats were coming. And this is what, so similar to what the showboat was looking for. This is not Danville, but this is what would come into the Danville landing. And they would present shows. Some of them were world famous shows, some of them were performed in New York, but they would set up tents and perform shows. And I think the admission for kids was like $0.25, and the kids would go around and get like apples or not oranges, apples or nuts or something like that, bring them to some of the people there, and they would give them the tickets to get in with. This is one of the earliest ferry landings at Danville. This is a T.L. McKinnon in 1909 showing the boat was Saturn. Now, is this gentleman kin to Bob, Miss Betty?
His grandfather.
Okay, thank you. This is a ferry in 2000 at the lake. This is the Paducah packet at the Danville, Tennessee in 1898. In the Danville School, this picture was taken by the lady on the steamer who stopped and wanted a picture of the building. Teacher Ollie Richardson asked if they could stand out on the steps while the picture was taken, and she said the picture became a big. This is also the closer up of the front steps. Inside this was the church at one time at the bottom, and then at the top was the Sonic Lodge, the Mason Lodge that would hold meetings up there. And then later on they moved, and then they moved this building up into McKinnon, and after the flooding of the lake, and then I think in the 1950s or 60s it burnt. This is the Danville Hotel that was built in 1880 by George W. Outlaw. It was a 2-story brick with 16 rooms. This is the tearing down of the Danville Bridge the Danville Hotel in 1942. And they went for it. I mean, they tore the town down, and that's what this picture is here. I've heard the story of a gentleman that went off to war during World War II, and he lived in Danville. And when he came home, his town was gone. And he always regretted that. He said that was one of the worst things they could have done to me while I was out fighting for the country. He said when I came home, my town was gone. This is the structure of the Danville Hotel, and this up on the ridge behind there is a house. I'm not sure what houses are. This is one of the National Archive pictures that we purchased. And all it tells me is Danville. I don't get to see what the pictures look like, but this is a great picture. There's a railroad track in front of them, so this is the back of the Danville Hotel. He just moved his cameras just a few inches, and then this is another shot that was taken. This is Danville looking towards Paris Landing. There's a TVA trailer there when they were tearing it down and clearing all the lumber off of there. If you look up to the right there, you'll see the bluff where Jack Henson hid out, and also there's Harrican Creek coming out. This is in 1887, Danville and LaGrange completed part of the L&M railroad system that went to Stribling, and it was 6 to 7 miles long. This is the bridge to Stribling, and down in Stribling, this is the branch that went across, they produced pig iron. It was a production, they would go down, they had a smaller scale train that they would go down and pick up the pig iron and then bring it back up to Danville, and it'd be transferred to one of the original trains. May 9, 1890, a train boiler exploded, killing engineer Matt A. Connor and fireman George Stowe, and also fatally injuring Jack Wheatley. He died like 2 hours later after the explosion. When that exploded, it blew the engineer 60 foot up in the air, the fireman it blew 60 foot to the left, and then the other gentleman it blew 60 foot to the right. So it was a pretty good explosion. This is some of the stores in Danville. Some of them were called Outlaw, Gamble, and Steal. And it kind of goes along with the system of Danville. In 1918, the concrete and steel reinforced grain elevator was built by the L&M Railroad. This is also a picture that we got from the National Archives. If you'll notice on the fourth floor on the second hole to the right there's a gentleman standing there. Somebody said that now with the water, it was so low, you could see 3 sections of the water up above, or of the granary up above the water. This is another picture of it. This shows how they were loading and unloading when the barges came up to them. Depends on how high the water is what floor they would unload on and load on. And then they would take dollies and take them down out across. This is after it was abandoned. This is also a picture that I got from the National Archives. I'd like to find this bell.
Yeah.
I'm understanding that the bell on the top left-hand side was wrong when a steamer or a boat pulled up and they needed to be loaded and unloaded. So they would ring the bell and anybody in the area that worked there would come to work. This is the elevator in 1927 during the flood. To me, this is how TVA got the idea that this would be a good area to flood. This is the walkway that goes across. This was taken in 1942. This is another one of the National Archive pictures. This is the cold chute that Greg was asking me about earlier. This is the drawbridge tender house that would lift and raise the bridge. Earlier, they had it on the end of the bridge, and then later on, they moved it to the middle section. This is the water tank. This is from the National Archives. Any of them you see with the numbers on there are usually the ones that we've ordered. This is the Danville depot during the 1939 flood. This is after they moved it, after they started raising water in the lake. I also read in the Danville book, that's where I got a lot of my information. I got 2 of these for sale, and I think we're going to be out of them after that. I don't think we're going to reprint them. I don't know if we can. But somebody said in there that it sure stunk in that area when they were raising the water up. I guess was probably all the animals they were catching dead, or just some of the wildlife or whatever. This is the L&M incline in Danville. This is the sand and gravel plant, and Bingo Powell said he worked there, and he would always eat his lunch right there at that building. But they would back eight train cars back down to it to load it with either gravel or sand. And if they wasn't careful, the first one back would jump it and then go in the river. So they had to spend time getting them out sometimes, but that's why they built the concrete pillar on the end of it to keep it from going in there. This is a crane rock, and this is just backing up, and you can see a better view of it. This is one of the ferries that was in Danville. I'm not sure who the ladies are. This is, left to right, Juanita Boone Parker, bridge construction worker, and Mary Evelyn Wiseman Dixon at the Danville Bridge. This is the Danville ferry landing in the timber yard to the right. This is when they started clearing the timber out, and you can see how much is there. I think Mr. Bob's dad had a lot to do with that, didn't he, Miss Beth? The timber.
Yes.
This is the Cane Creek Bridge at Danville, and this is from the National Archives. So before Danville was flooded, you could cross, I don't know if anybody's familiar with where the railroad tracks was in Danville, but you can cross it and go down to the river there before you get down to where the ponds are. Well, this road, it used to go on over across, and it would come out by Cane Creek Boat Dock. And that way you didn't have to go all the way back up to McKinnon to go down White Oak Road. This is the steel bridge at Lick Creek. I'm not sure where Lick Creek is. Does anybody in here know? It may be one of the bridges that was heading towards the Stribling.
Is it Humphreys County?
Is on the west side.
Is it okay?
This is Mr. Bradley. Martha Bradley let us scan this picture there, but the mussel boating or mussel hunting was a big business back then. They would they load them up in grain bags, and then they would take them to the boats and load them, and then they would take them to another state, and they would make buttons out of them. This is one of the Danville schools. This is the Fairfield School, which is the school that was moved to McKinnon, where they hold the annual reunion. This is Lassie and Joel Kill. Joel was a steamboat captain in 1918. A little interesting fact, I tell this, that me and my brother-in-law and another gentleman, we dug the grave for the lady on the left at Cane Creek Cemetery. Back then, Eugene Sexton wouldn't let no backhoes go in there, so they had to be dug by hand. So us three, we dug that grave for her, and she was 101 at the time, and I think it was like 1976 or 77. This is the L&M Railroad, train 103 between McKinnon and Danville. It looks like the people are having a good time. I'd be scared. This is the 102 between McKinnon and Danville in 1927. It just shows you, if you look on the left there, you can see the telephone pole. This is the train that barely made it through. This is the Bethany Methodist Church that was moved from Danville to White Oak on top of the hill where Hill Orchard Cemetery is. And I believe it burned in the 1990s. This is the pond in Danville in the 50s, 1959. This is a picture that we had. It wasn't from the archive. I'm not sure who this lady is, but I'm real curious about what's on the rock back there behind her, because it looks like a leprechaun to me. Until somebody can prove me wrong, that's what I'm going to go with. This is one of the maps that was drawn by Miss Frances Henson and Dudley Henson, and I think there was a couple other gentlemen that helped her draw it. And we have the full map over here that Melissa brought in from the archive, so if anybody wants to see it, they can see it, but she did bring it in so we could show it. This is Lieutenant Nancy Gillingham. She was in the Army as a nurse, and they believe she was missing during World War II. Come to find out, she was in the Philippines with MacArthur, and when they put him on a submarine, they put her on a submarine, and nobody heard from her for 2 weeks, so they thought the Japanese had captured her, and they thought she was a prisoner of war. Then when they came up in Australia, I guess she made contact with her family and they found out she was safe. This is Stuart and George Henson. I don't know how many people are familiar with Ann Henson. I used to work with her. That was her husband. But this is in the flood of 37. This is Ollie Richardson and John Henson, 1918, before they married. This is Mary, Catherine, John, and Ollie Richardson, Henson, and Lewis Richardson. This is an aerial view of McKinnon. So I went outside the ring, and instead of just buying Danville pictures, I grabbed some other ones. If you'll notice up at the top of the picture there on the right corner, that is Cane Creek. Where the crossing is where 232 crosses 147, but this picture was made in 1949. I had to see this picture, so this is another picture of it. And they have more. This is a total of 45 pictures have been purchased from the National Archive out of over 200, and this is the end of it. But this is one of the pictures that I bought from the National Archives. If anybody's not familiar with this, that's Karen. The gentleman was probably standing right in the middle of the road in front of the funeral home, looking back at the old courthouse. If you'll notice over on the right there, that's the Harbor gas station. On the right here where the brush is, where the dog is where Accents would have been, or the movie theater. It's not there yet. So right in front of the car is Spring Street. There's no light there, but that would have been Spring Street going across. And there's Shamrock and the feed company. Isn't that great? I mean, and they have more. This is called the Jesse Allen Lion Kill. This picture was taken in February of 1939. But what this is you're in the quarry looking back up. So you're looking up, I'm not sure what the brick foundations are unless that's where they brought the training on up. And if they did, they dumped the ore over to the left there, and that's where they cooked it. And that's where the kill is, over there by Monsalon. I got more of these too. This is, I don't know if he wanted me to mention it or not, but I'm going to. This is where the Piggly Wiggly store is. I showed this to Tim Klager, and he said, I want a copy of that. And I said, okay. And I was selling the 8x10s, and when I took it to him, I took him that one, and I took him one picture of Aaron, and he made a donation of $100 to the Historic Society so we could buy more pictures. So if you see Tim, thank you. This is the Aaron steam plant that was down on Front Street, right up where the Shelton Garage is. This is one of the pictures. I got probably 10 pictures of the steam plant. I've seen other pictures in the pictorial book, but I've never seen a picture from the back side of it like this. And this is from the National Archives in 1939. I have a list of all the pictures. Some of these are double, but there's some with Sturt, McKinnon, Danville, and Houston County. And I think they date all the way up to 1949. So I got a feeling we're going to get some more. So that's it. And I thank you.
Questions for Jerry? There's one way up there.
You can recognize the blood.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll make a quick observation. You said something about when the lake came up, there was a smell.
Yes, sir.
My dad said that when they flooded the lake, that the water in the lake was pea green. It was full of not animals, it was full of plant life. And when the water came up, it all began to rot, and that's when some of the best fishing we've ever been in this part of the world. But the smell probably wasn't animals, it was almost plant life, but he said it was the water was pea green.
Well, somebody asked me a question, why we flooded the lake. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, no. And I told them it was because the fish wasn't big enough, so they thought if they got a bigger lake down there, they could catch bigger fish. So. But it was done for electricity. It was done to a hydro. the county, because the county at that time,
Where people could
there
go
wasn't
to
much of it that
Remember
was
those little
under
jars?
electricity at that time, because we did some of the interviews, and
I
I
think
think they said they didn't come
it
in
was like,
until the
when you
fifties.
were right next to it.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions,
No,
comments?
used to,
And like I say,
they said
in this
that
book
it
right
was
here,
called down the bottom. Down the bottom. Yeah. Because
I have 100 pictures that you can look through. And if you decide that you would like to have one of these pictures, you can purchase them for 50 cents a piece, and it'll go toward buying the other. In this book, I have all the doubles, so if you pick out the number in that book, we'll get the picture for you. And
I don't remember the driver, but what worries me is people going, oh,
this is the
yeah,
picture of the list right
yes,
now.
and it's that open and you're rolled over on
Yeah,
that backside.
it's very dangerous.
And
I have all the historic society books.
We didn't have any sense as kids, we did all everything.
Well, but now, you know that things are on, I live in other end of town and never got to that unless
This is
I can go
A day's trip.
Yeah, as far as I ever went was Danny Roby's house, that was it, as far as I went.
Thank you, Jerry, for
On my
agreeing to offer this
bicycle.
presentation. Our next meeting is at the Archives on November the 12th at 7 p.m. We will have snacks that night. Please bring finger foods. I would like to have a 2021 celebration meeting at 6 on that day, if we could. If anybody's interested, show up at 6 before the meeting and we'll talk about our celebration again. December meeting will be December the 10th, 6 p.m. Since there's food at 6 p.m. Potluck, fellowship, and membership. So please look at Jerry's pictures. I had a bunch reprinted and would like to get those out for you to look at. And thank you and see you in November. Oh, you have a question, sir?
No. Could you announce, please, the antique tractor show will be at Waverly this Saturday at the county fairgrounds, Waverly. If anybody's interested in antique equipment, there's no admission, no parking, no charges at all. But the tractor club is putting the show on. We'll all bring stuff over, and I'm gonna bring a Hope tractor with a corn grinder and a saw and other things they ran off of those tractors. This is a track type machine. But anyway, there'll be any number of tractors there, probably a shingle machine. If anybody's interested in coming by, we'd like to have you come by on Saturday.
And what time?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, Saturday. Antique tractor,
Yeah.
9 to 3. And the location?
Oh, it's at the fairgrounds when you're going out of Waverly, like on Highway 13, there where the co-op is, the
Back behind the co-op.
county fairgrounds are back up on that hill. You can see it from there. Turn after co-op.
Okay, Clint, you have a question?
Question for Jerry.
Okay.
What would it cost to get all of the remaining pictures for the National Archives that you don't have?
Without going down there.
Yeah.
Well, I figure that there's somewhere between 150 and 175, so 100 pictures would cost us $250. Another 50 would cost us 125, so it'd be $375 for 150 pictures, and whatever the odds are, the odd ones are. Because I haven't done a complete count on them, so I would say it would be probably under $500. Somewhere, I mean.
But that's Houston County. That's not limited to Danville.
Well, that's Danville and Houston County.
Okay.
There's Houston County pictures of, in the 40s that were taken of land excavation or land projects that were done. I think some of them were done out close to where Benetta lives. Yeah, and they were like logging, or they were working the fields and similar things to that. But everyone I've seen, to me, is unique.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'd like to make the motion that we go ahead and buy them.
Is there any discussion? Is there a second to that motion? Okay.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Hi.
Now, without going down there, Jerry. Any opposed?
We're bringing them to you.
Okay, motion carried.
Now, Jerry, you feel better? He
Yes.
came to me and he said, reckon they'd get on to me if I bought some more pictures. I said, they gave you $100, you had sent me $62.50. And that's when he got that $100 from Tim, he said, got me some more pictures.
Well, then we expect another show and tell, maybe at the December meeting. We'll have all the tables out,
Don't
ready to
make
go.
me brag, you know?
Too late.
You'll be on.
I plan on selling more of the 8x10s because I'm gonna try to make some of our money back. I've always been that way. If I spend money, I wanna make some back. But ain't no telling what other pictures we'll get. I mean, there really isn't. Somebody will say, I give you $100 for that picture right there, but, I'm not sure if they'll ever post them. Once we get them, because she sends me the JPEG, and it's just a negative picture that she sends me, but it's a picture. So I can take it, put it on my jump drive, and go to any print machine, like at Tim's, at Clegran's, or Walmart, or whatever, and I can have these printed off either 4x6s or 8x10. So if I haven't showed them on my website, which I think everybody's familiar with the Houston County Historic Society, because I really didn't want to let them steal them. I mean, if they want to donate, they can have all of them they want. I mean, I'm not trying to be greedy with them, but I was trying to get the money up to buy the rest of them, what my goal was. So.
Well, it's a very unique collection, and please look at the pictures that he has. And not all of them came from the archives.
Right.
They are local, some came from, what about the L&N that had.
Well, this picture
like
right
that?
here, which is a great picture, it was Russ Harris took this picture from the air, and this is the bridge, and I guess probably the 60s when it was still going. So he took us from an airplane, and this, to me, is a really unique picture. But there, like I said, there's all the pictures that I got from the archives is in here. I know I should have sorted them by, but I didn't. But
I failed.
I need to bring up one other thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Kathy Smith, I know some of you are familiar with her and Jean. She was going to come tonight, and she's done some drawing, postcard size, I think is what they are. And her husband, they had to take him to the emergency room. And I think in Nashville today. He'd been sick, he'd had a high fever. But I told her there probably wouldn't be no problem, because me and Melissa talked about it, about letting her come to the archives and bring her pictures and display them. So
I saw them Saturday. I'd gone to the veterans, they had a yard sale at the veterans building. And I knew that she was an artist, but I hadn't seen, she's done some local things.
yeah, there's a lot of
And
local
they're
pictures.
really good. She's made note cards and different things that she's selling.
It'll probably happen in December.
The
Yeah.
bazaar, yes, yes. I got two more questions.
Jerry, I don't know if you've already told this group, but I missed one meeting. The pictures that you've been putting on that have been, were given to you or given the right to put there, that have been so good, that this group of photographs from, I don't remember the name now.
Carmen Bishop just.
Carmen Bishop.
Carmen Bishop.
Yeah, there's one of the theater.
What a
that's
valuable
one.
group of pictures. And he must have been quite a photographer.
Well, he worked for Mr. Bob's dad, and then after he got out of school, he worked while he was in school. After he got out of school, he went to California. And then, I don't know, about 10 years ago, he came back. I asked him if I could share the pictures, but I didn't put none of them in here. But, you know, I'd love to have 8x10s at that theater, because they would sell like mad. And I've been selling his wife's stamps at our stamp club, so when I go back out and get some more, I'm gonna ask him, can I have some of your pictures to sell, you know, because I don't wanna infringe on nobody's copyrights or nothing like that, because like Dan said, those pictures are really.
The clarity is some of the best I've ever seen. That picture program there. I can see where you must have got good lessons from Mr. McKenna.
Another thought, if you do share the pictures of your buying, wouldn't it be a good idea to ask for donations if they would avoid them with a mailing address?
Well, that's,
I'm thinking people out of state,
right,
you can't buy but say, hey, yeah, I want to support this.
because we have 3,200 people, fans on that site, and there's people all over the country. Oh, I remember that. I haven't been home in 30 years. But I was going to do a little story about how I found these pictures when I started listing them, and then asked that we were going to, you know, purchase more of them, and then we would take donations if we wanted to purchase more of them, or we could make you an 8x10 and sell it to you for $10 and then ship it to you. because we got orders down in Danville, and Miss Betty, I got to scan a couple pictures, but Miss Betty's gonna ship them to them, because she's got a order form book, and we got them, like I say, this book right here, you know, these are gonna stay in here, but they're numbered 1 to 100, and, well, I ain't got them, but 1 to 95. This book here has got all our extra pictures in it. So if you want to purchase any of these pictures for 50 cents, just pick the number out, and we'll pick the picture out, and then we'll charge you 50 cents a piece. And we sold some tonight, but we wasn't sure how to do this, but I mean, 50 cents per 4x6 is not bad, and plus it's all going to raise money to buy the rest of them. But you can see there's some pictures in the video that are in here that wasn't in the video. Like I said, just look through them, pick out the number, write it down. I got a notepad right here, and if you take a number and write it down, we'll pull it out of there, and then we're going to get these pictures now. I'm so glad. My wife calls me the picture man now. If y'all are familiar with my website, I've been putting pictures on there for 10 years. And I've probably got 10,000 pictures on there. And all of them are here. And I do, like, you know, Veterans Day and stuff like that. I do different things. But it's really, I've seen other people take lead from my site. And it makes me proud to think that I had an idea that was worthwhile that somebody else wanted to copy. So.
Did you want to thank anybody?
Oh, yes, I did. Thank you. Okay, I want to thank Randy White for taking me down to the cemetery and getting all this started. I work with Randy. He lived down in Kurt Holler, down off of White Oak Road. And I'd also like to thank Melissa Barker for her help on this. And she's supported me and get me in the right direction and everything, and lend us the other pictures. And Marie Hill of the National Archives, I'd like to thank her, because I'm going to bother her real bad here. One thing about it, I'm sorry, these pictures are in boxes, and they got 101 boxes. I'm not sure how many negatives are in these boxes. This is what worries me, that they got to pull these boxes out and let them warm up for a day, for 24 hours, I believe is what she told me. And then she goes and picks out the negatives that I sent her the description, which is just, let me give you for instance. Okay, one of them was just called an L&N Railroad Concrete dock. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 6 different pictures. And I hate to get the same picture twice, but I don't think that the photographers
With the
same description. I think like that on one picture he moved, you know, because it'd be like a panoramic thing. So, but, you know, and we marked all the ones that I ordered, so I know I won't order them twice. There was one that you couldn't see it very good, so she didn't charge us for that. So I got 46 pictures. But I'd also like to thank Jerry Bybee. That's my son. He runs Computer One. I called him Saturday because we couldn't get the projector to work right, and he told me what to do, which was just, you know, he thinks I'm nuts anymore. Friday night, I went to hook up my PowerPoint to this laptop off of my desktop. My desktop's new. This is a little bit old. This is the Historic Society, and it's over 10 years old. PowerPoint would work because it was too old of a program. Jamie's doing a reception at a wedding. He does DJs and stuff like that. He said, Dad, I'll come up here and help you. He come up here and he loaded a newer version onto a PowerPoint on here. We can use it for 18 days, which it got me through what I was doing right here. So, and I'd also like to thank Miss Betty McKinnon, because she's been a lot of help and a lot of support. She keeps me going. She says, go buy them pictures now. I said, okay. Miss Betty, thanks.
I said they're not going to fire you. You buy those pictures.
I've always believed if Nina or Miss Betty told me it was all right, it's not been all right. So that's how it went.
So don't blame Jerry. If you're going to horsewhip somebody, it'll have to be me. I told him, go ahead and do it. I said, they're not going to say one word to you about buying those pictures. And I'll tell you another thing. He said, well, if we go down there and take our equipment, we can get them for nothing. I said, you figure up how much gas is, and how much you're going to go to Atlanta, and how long you're going to stay in Atlanta, and you can't stay overnight for $35.
Well, other than being in Atlanta, I'd stay in the tent if I had to, but I've been to Atlanta before.
No, I said, no, you pay $2 a half for that's cheap compared to what it costs you to go down there.
Thank you for passing the
Merry Christmas, Jerry.
yeah.
pick out a bunch